There's a bunch of bands I've been waiting on for a while to finally release their debut record. Live A Lie's been quiet for a few months, Aggressive Raisin Cat's been in mixing hell, Alt finally dropped theirs last month after 2 years of making me wait, but I've been patiently frothing at the mouth for Better Lover's full-length debut. And last week, we finally got it. And holy shit. I've noticed with myself, I don't get hyper invested in new album drops very often. Unless it's Periphery or Old Architects, it's hard to get me excited about an impending release until the full thing is out. Yet I was watching every Instagram clip, binging every single, buying the EP twice, going to the gigs, reading the interviews, watching the podcasts, writing freaking Wikipedia articles, all for a band that's been around about as long as Elon's owned Twitter. Not only is that baseline uncharacteristic for me, but I didn't listen to Dillinger, didn't get into Every Time I Die until after the breakup, and even though I've been listening to albums within the Will Putney sphere for years, didn't listen to Fit for an Autopsy until a year after Oh What the Future Holds came out. This had all the makings of something I just wouldn't be that interested in. So why then is Highly Irresponsible one of my favorite album releases of the year? Because the story is sick, and the music, it's pretty killer. I was asking myself those same questions when God Made Me an Animal dropped last year. It was my favorite EP release of 2023, over Spirit Box, Pliny, and Texas in July. Again, with no attachment to anyone's previous work, all I had done was follow the clips Jordan was posting online and thought, hey, those are pretty sick. Hearing lots of those ideas come to life on the EP was even cooler, and knowing the bands that everybody came from and how much of their lives have been wrapped up in making music like this essentially made God Made Me an Animal an instant sell to me. But more of this Better Lovers attachment I have has come from the whole ravenous energy around the whole thing. The band was hungry to get started after realizing they had something special. The fans were excited to get back in the pit, and I'm just over here in the background like, I'm a stranger in your land, but can I please have a slice? And then I went to their show at the Roxy in LA last October and went, oh, I get it now. So I get to look at Highly Irresponsible not through the lens of an Every Time I Die fan looking for their next chapter or a Dillinger fan wanting to relive Greg's glory days, but as a guy who enjoys full album experiences, curious how all of this is going to mesh together on an LP. The EP, for as sick as it is, was flown out really quickly because of touring deadlines and dealing with trauma, so the album is a better representation of what everyone in the band is capable of and wants to put forward creatively, and it's a sick way to make your debut. You've got the answer that you've always needed, that you push aside, 'cause the truth is always overrated. Put hard, metal, math, or noise in front of core, and most songs here have a high chance of incorporating like 3 or more of those. These guys went to Riff City and bought a whole bakery of licks, and not all of them were easy to comprehend on first listen. It's gritty, chaotic, unsettling, and somehow everything sounds like it has the energy of being hooked up to a car battery. But it's not one note. The insanity might take center stage, but there's some sick clean choruses, a good couple of hooks, some solos, 2 slower songs that break up the tornado, and lots of background layers that make this more than just the Ripper's paradise that it might seem on first glance. And it feels like this is the kind of depth that only 5 guys with multiple decades of experience writing this stuff could pull off this well. Though coming in, there's not like there was any reason to question everyone's individual skill, but how all of it melded together was what was more important to me. And I think it's indicative of how unified Jordan and Will were that I often couldn't tell who was writing what riff. I figured Jordan would be writing the mathy stuff or the southern parts with more swag, and Will would be the absolute dick destroyer, but by the end of this, I couldn't tell, and I don't want to take guesses for fear of being wrong. Except lie between the lines. That's the closest that Will gets to Fit for an Autopsy on this thing because that sucker's in drop A, but for the rest of it, you can really tell how in each other's bags both guitarists were. There's also tons of passages where Mitch gets to shine. Like, credit Will's mixing, but Steve's got chops. Future Myopia, White Horse, and At All Times stand out at points where he gets to lay down some beef, and that bass tone is great too. Greg brings a lot of the same heat vocally from the EP, which is fantastic, but I also think his spoken word parts on the album bring some much needed variety to some of the songs, and then there's some parts where he sounds more shrill and distorted than ever. His clean parts also got way more love on the LP, which is great because it gets to show off his versatility, and the times he's harmonizing with himself almost sound Alice in Chains-like, which makes me think that time touring with Jerry Cantrell is paying off. And I saw this on Reddit, Someone said Goose plays drums like he's running for his life, and I can't unsee it. That frantic, ballistic pace he keeps up with on all those double time fills, like, his drumming might be one of my favorite parts on the entire project. Like, he killed it. But in the interest of examining this whole package front to back, all I've said could have been a lot more moot if the flow felt off. Like, I've heard albums that are nothing but 30 minutes of straight maniacal rip before, but I know that these guys have more tricks in their bag, so I was hoping the album would be more diverse. And it is. Down-tuned hardcore opener, 92 seconds of disarray, disrespectfully bouncy punky groove, riff sausage with a sick chorus background lead, some weirdly unsettling down-tempo hard rock, need a couple more listens to understand the riffage, that song everyone's heard on tour, double kick thrash and the most unhinged breakdown, movie credits rock ballad, and a desperate, panicky cry for help at the end. Given the breadth of these guys' musical talents, I honestly think they nailed that pacing. I think I was really only left wanting for a song that hits like 30 under 13. Like, I've got every Better Lover song in hand now, and I still feel like that's the one that gets me going the most, even if what they've released since has proven to be a lot more adaptable. I think they had good singles choices and proved that they can go in lots of different directions, but nothing screams Better Lovers to me the way that first song has. Maybe there's something to be said for traumatic experiences making the best art. Maybe I'm not swayed by recency bias. I don't know. Again, I can't compare this to Dillinger or E-Tid, and I don't feel like adding on to the Many Eyes debate. I'm just a bystander who got caught in a tidal wave and brought an inner tube and had a really fun time. Because I can feel the victory lap that Highly Irresponsible is. Catching lightning in a bottle with the guys involved, having fun making something heavy that also sounds fun to listen to, and getting a record out the door that puts most other supergroups out of business. If every time had to die, then at least they had a plan, and it wasn't the end.